Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, April 13th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma in for Maya Tribulsi. A setback for a coronavirus vaccine tested here in San Diego. Health officials are pressing pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine while they investigate a possible side effect. KPBS reporter Melissa May talked to local officials about what it means for San Diego.
The CDC and FDA issued a joint statement today that they were reviewing data involving 6 reported U.S. cases of a rare and severe type of blood clot in individuals who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. San Diego County tweeted out that it will immediately pause use of that vaccine out of an abundance of caution. County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says he believes the impact on San Diego's vaccine program will be minimal.
We have increasing supplies of the other ones, and we're going to continue moving forward. So, you know, a little bump in the road, but look, you want to err on the side of caution, and you want to err on the side of safety, and you want the public to know that there's continued monitoring, testing, treatment, evaluation as we go through this.
Right now, these adverse events appear to be extremely rare. All the cases occurred among women between the ages of 18 and 48, and symptoms occurred 6 to 13 days after vaccination. Dr. Christian Ramers is on the county's COVID-19 Clinical Advisory Group. On social media, he put some perspective on the situation, comparing the blood clot risk from the vaccine to the risk of the same problem in pregnancy.
The immediate reaction is for people to freak out quite a bit, and I don't think we need to freak out right now. This is the system working as it should, actually. And it's pretty impressive that we have a vigilance and a safety system that can pick out a 1 in a million event.
Dr. Ramers thinks we need to put this all in perspective and assess their risks.
I actually anticipate we will continue to use J&J vaccine in the future. It's just that we need to sort out what this risk is and perhaps avoid giving it in certain populations.
People who have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine who develop severe headache, abdominal pain, leg pain, or shortness of breath within 3 weeks after vaccination should contact their healthcare provider. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the pause will not affect plans to start inoculating all adults on Thursday. California already expected fewer J&J doses because of production issues.
J&J represents about 4% of our weekly allocation in this state. It will not materially impact our ability to fulfill our expectations and commitment to provide enough vaccine to fully vaccinate all those that seek to get vaccinated so that we can begin to more fully open our economy by June 15th.
Newsom publicly received the J&J shot earlier this month in an attempt to demonstrate that it is safe. He said he had no side effects. Today, the state updated guidance allowing businesses to increase their capacity limits in sections where all guests are fully vaccinated or tested negative for COVID-19. Physical distancing is also not required in sections where guests are fully vaccinated, and fully vaccinated people from out of state may visit or attend activities or events restricted to in-state visitors. A reminder, we have more information about how and where to get your shot at kpbs.org. Just go to our homepage and then click on the Vaccines tab. Governor Newsom has signed a deal that sets aside an additional $535 million for wildfire prevention this year. KPBS Environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The legislation comes after the state endured the worst wildfire season in modern history. Governor Newsom hopes the money accelerates fire prevention projects in areas that are prone to wildfires. He says climate change is raising the risk that a small fire will grow out of control.
4+ million acres burned last year, more than 2018 and 2019 combined. And while it wasn't the deadliest or most destructive wildfire season, it certainly was in terms of the total acreage burned.
The $536 million legislative package includes money for fire breaks, forest health, and hardening homes. The money comes in addition to nearly $500 million already set aside for firefighting in the state budget. Richard Bloom says people shouldn't be misled into thinking this solves the problem.
The focus here is on how much work lays ahead of us, and we need to be conscientious about making sure that this very important funding that we provide this year continues on into the future, because we won't get it all done this year.
Republican State Senator Scott Wilk, meanwhile, says wildfires have affected nearly every community in the state, and he wants to see some state rules eliminated so more wildfire mitigation efforts can move forward. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego SWAT officers shot and killed an armed man after an hours-long standoff that ended at a high school campus. Christopher Marquez is believed to be a fugitive wanted in 2 shootings within the last month. Police were trying to arrest him last night when he led officers on a car chase and drove onto the San Diego high school campus. There, he jumped into a dumpster with a woman. SWAT officers tried for hours to negotiate with Marquez, but say the situation escalated.
She began screaming and begging for the male not to shoot her and not to do this. 2 officers saw the male push the female towards the ground, and they could see a rifle being brought up, prompting them both to fire their weapons.
The woman was not hurt. The San Diego Unified School District took classes online for San Diego High School, East Village Middle College High School, and Garfield High School because of the standoff. The Minnesota police officer who shot and killed a black man during a traffic stop resigned today. Kim Potter's resignation comes 2 days after the death of a 20-year-old man named Dante Wright. The police chief said he believes Potter mistakenly grabbed her gun when she was going for her taser. Now the police chief has also resigned. Wright's death has sparked 2 days of clashes between police and protesters in a Minneapolis suburb. Today, prosecutors rested their case against Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd. Now it's the defense's turn to try and convince the jury that Chauvin is not guilty of murder. Camilla Bernal is in Minneapolis as the trial enters a new phase.
Derek Chauvin's defense team using body camera footage.
Last name? Floyd.
And witness testimony, attempting to prove the former Minneapolis police officer should be acquitted of all charges.
I felt that Officer Chauvin's interactions with Mr. Floyd were following his training, following current practices in policing, and were objectively reasonable.
Part of the defense's strategy, painting the crowd watching George Floyd's 2020 arrest as combative, distracting to the officers, and potentially dangerous.
They were very aggressive. Aggressive towards the officers, yes.
The defense also focusing on Floyd sleeping in the car before his arrest.
I kept saying, baby, get up.
Chauvin's team arguing drug use, as evidenced by drowsiness, contributed to Floyd's death.
They try to wake him up, I try to wake him up over and over, and his friend tried to wake him up.
The defense also trying to establish a pattern, showing footage from Floyd's arrest a year earlier in 2019.
He won't listen to what I have to say.
Where Floyd admitted to taking opioids.
He told me that he had been taking multiple, like every 20 minutes.
But the prosecution pounced, saying a key distinction between Floyd's arrest from 2019 and the one in 2020 was life and death.
And Mr. Floyd didn't drop dead while you were interacting with him, correct?
No.
In Minneapolis, Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
President Biden is planning to announce a full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. The White House says he will deliver remarks tomorrow on the way forward. Two people familiar with the plan say U.S. troops will withdraw by September 11th to mark a symbolic end to the longest war in American history. The Trump administration had set a May 1st deadline in an agreement with the Taliban. Biden has been hinting that he was going to let that deadline lapse.
The president has been consistent in his view that there's not a military solution to Afghanistan, that we have been there for far too long. That has been his view for some time. Well documented, well reported on.
There are currently about 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. The cleanup of a large homeless encampment off South Oceanside Boulevard started today. Oceanside Police Department and city officials showed up this morning with 30 motel vouchers for people wanting that option. Since there were not enough for everyone at the encampment, the cleanup is expected to last all week.
We certainly don't have enough hotel vouchers for everybody. What we are doing, though, is we're partnering with the county, with nonprofits, with churches to try to find other shelter for them.
Another option being explored is a safe area where people could camp. Children in City Heights are getting back to in-person learning this week. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler spoke with parents and guardians about what their first day was like after more than a year of remote learning.
It's been exciting to have him back. It's kind of saddening at the same time. He's been home for the last 14 months, so I've gotten used to spending more time with him.
Carlos Brown's son is back in school at Ibarra Elementary School in City Heights. For him, the first day of school on Monday was bittersweet. He was happy to see his son back in school and among friends, but he already missed having him around.
It was very weird because I'm like used to going back and forth, checking on him, feeding him, and overall interacting with them, so it was kind of strange. I had a lot more downtime.
Maria Eva was dropping off her 6-year-old grandson. Without him at home, she says she kept busy and was happy to see her grandson enjoying being back in school.
Oh, sí, bastante disfrutó ayer su escuela porque dice que le gustó bastante venir a la escuela y lo trataron muy bien.
She said her grandson raved about the activities he got to do with his classmates, but most of all, his teacher.
Más que nada su maestra.
MC Patton is the school's principal.
We are finally back, and we had we think about 250 kids on campus yesterday, and protocol, all the distancing, all the signage, the kids are great at it. They've been living in COVID too. We're not the only ones. Just to see kids outside on the blacktop, on the playground, distanced or not, bouncing a ball was joyful, to say the least.
Patton says that in a diverse community like City Heights, getting kids back out and interacting with kids from different backgrounds and cultures is incredibly important.
This is an amazing community. It has so much to offer, and I love it when in the mornings you see, it looks like the United Nations here, and a Zoom meeting with us looks like the UN. We've got 5 languages spoken in being interpreted. We've got people they know this is their home, and there was nothing but I could see the smiles through the masks yesterday. It was easy to see.
For the parents and teachers at Ibarra Elementary School, just the sight of kids on a socially distanced playground had them smiling as well. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
It's called the shell. It's found by the sea, but we're not talking about the hard outer covering of a sea creature. This shell is all about delighting the senses, bringing music to life in a familiar place, but in a whole new way. KPBS reporter John Carroll takes us to Embarcadero Marina Park South to show us what makes this shell so special.
The shell, such a simple name for something so utterly unique.
It's magnificent. It's elegant, and it is ours. It is San Diego's.
And for San Diego Symphony CEO Martha Gilmer, it is a dream come true. When Gilmer took over the symphony more than 6 years ago, the orchestra's outdoor concerts were held in the same place, but in a markedly different setting. A temporary stage set up each summer and taken down each fall. The Shell, which was originally scheduled to open last year, will host concerts and other events year-round.
We had a whole season booked last year, so many of those will come forward a year, but there are also new artists that we're going to partner with. And we're going to do movies, we're going to do mariachi, we're going to do full-on symphonic concerts, we're going to do guest performers.
All of it held in a venue that is state-of-the-art in every way. These pictures are from a few weeks ago when the symphony recorded performances to be shown online. They show one aspect of what makes this place so amazing, the lighting design. Lights on the shell itself and on these towers that will create a feast for the eyes. But it is the sound that elevates the musical experience to stratospheric levels. Sound everywhere, from the stage to the very back row.
There are microphones on the stage and speakers on the stage that create basically an indoor acoustic environment for our musicians. They have the most beautiful blended sound and they can hear each other exquisitely. So the music making is going to be first class.
The large, familiar-looking speakers on stage facing outward are obviously for the audience's ears. But it's the speakers on these towers that will make the sound out here so special.
Those speakers are surround speakers, create a surround sound for the audience. You'll feel enveloped. And also there's a delay in it so that you will have a synchronized present sound.
Sound that will easily reach the shores of Coronado, but Gilmer says the symphony wants to be a good neighbor. The state-of-the-art sound design will help with that.
We have real-time sound monitoring device on the soundboard itself, at the back of this property and on Coronado, so that it's all feeding to the people running the sound.
The design and construction of this new venue goes way beyond the shell itself. A raised berm has opened up a much larger area for seating. The old setup allowed for only about 2,800 max. The new setup will allow seating arrangements of between 3,500 and 8,000, up to 10,000 for certain special events. And the old food vendor trailers are long gone, replaced by some of the best culinary experiences San Diego has to offer.
We have Richard Blaze, who will be creating incredible meals in the kitchen, fully equipped, beautiful kitchen, 3-course dinners that can be served at your table. We've got Lola 55 tacos, we have Biga pizzas, we have Tracy Borkham and her pasta salads, of course, beverage of your choice.
Apart from the stunning stage, the amazing state-of-the-art lighting and sound, there is another big difference with this new venue. If you were here before and you had to go to the bathroom, there were porta potties out here. Not anymore. There are now more than 60 new bathrooms right here in this hallway, all of it under where the seating area is. When it's not being used for performances, the venue won't just sit empty. 85% of it will turn into a public park. Talk about a great place for a picnic. But as public as it is, the cost to San Diego taxpayers was minimal, the city chipping in about $50,000 of the $85 million price tag. Nearly all of that came from donors. An exact date is yet to be set, but Gilmer says it will open this summer, August at the latest. Then this dream turned into reality by the work of 133 people from 32 companies will come to life. It will be here in this breathtaking setting for generations to come, for the artists of the future to continually breathe new life into it.
And make it something that San Diego is known for, looks forward to, and that is just an iconic part of our city.
John Carroll, KPBS News.
The pandemic has taken a toll on the movie industry. Most visible to filmgoers has been the temporary and sometimes permanent closure of movie theaters and chains. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says Pacific Theaters and its ArcLight cinemas are the latest to go dark for good.
The ArcLight website posted this statement. After shutting our doors more than a year ago, today we must share the difficult and sad news that Pacific will not be reopening its ArcLight cinemas and Pacific Theaters locations. This was not the outcome anyone wanted, but despite a huge effort that exhausted all potential options, the company does not have a viable way forward. For San Diegans, the pandemic has been bookended by cinema closures. Last March, the beloved Ken Cinema shut its doors. And now, as theater venues begin to reopen, comes sad news that another art house, ArcLight La Jolla, will also go dark. ArcLight emphasized the film-going experience by offering state-of-the-art projection, no ads, and vigilant no cell phone use. ArcLight's closure is sad for San Diego, but for LA it's heartbreaking because the shutdown affects the iconic Cinerama Dome that was built in 1963 and was home to extravagant film premieres. Cinephiles are hoping something can be done to rescue the chain or at least the Cinerama Dome, but this announcement comes on the heels of the Alamo, another cinephile haven, filing for bankruptcy. This pandemic has altered the movie-going landscape, but cinemas rebounded from the Spanish flu, television, and home video, so we'll have to wait and see what happens next for movie theaters. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Now that San Diego County is in the orange tier, more Padres fans will be allowed to attend games at Petco Park. Capacity limits will be increased from 20% to 33% starting this Friday, April 16th. That's when the team begins a 6-game homestand. Some sections will be available at 67% capacity for fans who have been fully vaccinated or who have tested negative for COVID within 72 hours. Concession stands will also be allowed to reopen with contactless in-person ordering.
Our enhanced onshore flow continues. That means there could be a little drizzle, maybe some patches of light rain again overnight into perhaps early on Wednesday. Below average temperatures continue the next couple of days. It'll be cool, dress warmly, and the gusty winds will be with us, the mountains and the deserts, especially into early Wednesday, where we do have some wind advisories in effect. So quite windy through the overnight and into early Wednesday morning. Let's take a look at our weather. Clouds galore near the coast. With that marine layer, there could be some spotty drizzle, maybe a touch of light rain for some. Temperatures overnight cooling to 44 in Ramona and 57 in San Diego. Here's a look at the future cast, and we see a lot of clouds out there, but it's having a hard time really picking up any light precipitation, but it could get a little drizzly out there. Here's our Wednesday weather. Strong onshore flow continues. Plenty of clouds along the coast and clouds breaking up in the inland areas. Storm system sitting over the Great Basin, keeping that strong onshore flow in our area. Here you see our temperatures: 64 Oceanside, San Diego, only 62 in Ramona for a high. Cool day. Borrego Springs around 80 and Mount Laguna at 51. Thursday, the storm moves slowly eastward and we'll still have that onshore flow. And as we take a look at our temperatures, you can see it does stay cool, but the onshore flow starts to diminish. Marine layer not quite as deep on Friday, so temperatures start to creep up. And then over the weekend, we'll have a nice warm up on Sunday. Inland areas battling the clouds, temperatures rising. Looks like some beautiful weather for the weekend. And as we take into the mountain areas, strong gusty winds and cooling continues into Friday. Sunday, temperatures start to creep up. And in the deserts, you can see our temperatures will be in the low to mid 80s, but over the weekend, it should warm up. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
As the U.S. inches closer to 200 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine being administered, recent CDC data shows that the country is on the cusp of a milestone. Mandy Gaither has more.
A growing percentage of the population has received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, according to the latest numbers from the CDC.
In the last 7 days alone, the U.S. has reported administering nearly 22 million shots. That's more than 8% of the adult population in a single week.
And a milestone is now within reach. The U.S. on track to have half of the adult population with at least one dose by the end of the week, according to a CNN analysis of CDC data. 11 states have already reached this threshold, including New Hampshire, where 64% of adult residents have received at least one shot. But top U.S. health officials again urge Americans not to let their guards down.
Don't declare victory prematurely. We see so many pulling back on some of the public health measures, the mask mandates, the restaurant opening, the bars. We can't be doing that.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says that while risk will vary person to person, with current COVID-19 conditions and being fully vaccinated, he'd be comfortable eating outdoors in public or attending a baseball game.
I would not hesitate to go to an outdoor baseball game. I will wear a mask because I'm out there in the community. My risk would be extremely low, particularly if I wear a mask.
Fauci says breakthrough coronavirus infections in those who have already been vaccinated are inevitable because no vaccine is 100% effective, but says even if a vaccine fails to prevent infection, it often protects against serious disease. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And here's another look at today's top stories. San Diego County is pausing use of the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine following guidance from the federal government. The CDC and FDA recommended states suspend the one-dose vaccine after 6 women developed rare and severe blood clots. The CDC is holding an emergency meeting tomorrow. And Governor Newsom has signed a deal that sets aside an additional $535 million for wildfire prevention this year. It comes after the state's worst wildfire season in modern history. The governor hopes the money accelerates fire prevention projects in areas that are prone to fires. A major honor for America's first woman in space. Former UC San Diego professor Sally Ride is being honored by the United States Mint by having her image on the reverse side of a new quarter. The American Women Quarters program honors prominent women in the country. The recognition comes as Ride's youth education program at UC San Diego celebrates its 20th anniversary. Ride's life partner, Tam O'Shaughnessy, said Ride would have been moved by the honor. The coins will go into circulation next year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.